Good morning.
Good
Welcome.
morning. Good morning. Today is Sunday, July 9th,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it
Yeah,
is.
July
Yeah.
9th, 2023. And so this is the Sunday after the big 4th of July celebration, and a time in Florida where a lot of people like to get away. but
I don't
but
know
we're
why.
here.
I
We're
don't know
here. I
why.
don't know why. We're here and we're happy to be here. And our talk today is the title Be Still and Know, and it's from Psalm for 46:10. And of course, the full statement is, "Be still and know that I am God." And it is. We'll talk. We'll talk more about that. But what I'm going to do from the opening prayer is I am going to actually read a statement by Ernest Holmes, our founder. But it is. I want you to take it as a prayer. So go into the silence, go within, and take these words in. The belief in a life apart from good, with a capital G, is a dream from which we must awake if we are to taste the waters of reality, with a capital R, meaning God, which flow from the source of life. This awakening is a process of evolution, a little here and a little there, until the whole eye is opened and we see that life is neither separate from God nor different from good. Life is God, and good is the only power there is or can be. To awaken oneself is to be healed, made prosperous, happy, and satisfied, to be made every whit whole, to be complete as we were intended to be. God is a God of the living and not the dead. And so it is.
And that's from the Science of Mind text, page 487, for those of you that have the text and want to look it up.
Indeed, indeed. So this is, as I say, it comes from Psalm 46:10, and it's in a time of battle, time of, and it's a reminder to people that even if the worst happens, that you can be still and know that God is there. And since we believe we are in God, that everything is God and everything is in God, uh, that all is well. How can it not be well? Even if you are about to lay down your life, it's the physical life, this life, not the eternal life. And so that's how we can know that all is well. And it's a wonderful soother in rough times. And as I was thinking about it, it's, when we are having something that scares us or something that we're worried about, we go right to our upper left brain trying to figure out how to solve the problem, how to fix it. And that can be helpful, and sometimes it can just keep us worrying. And so this is a method that, according to Jill Taylor Bolte, this would be like going from here to here, the right. This is my right side. I don't know how you see it. You probably see it as my left side, but go to the right side and you get there by being still. That's the part that knows you're always one with God. So you get there by being still and not scaring yourself to death. Oh my God, what if, what if, what if? And just be still and know that all is well. And we're basically going from fear to faith. And when you're in fear, your heart is racing and you want to get into motion to fix things, to solve things. And in fact, you just need to relax and know that all is well. And I had an experience of doing this the other night. I woke up. I had a drink before going to bed that turns out that it wasn't the right drink. In other words, I usually take one that's for one thing, and this was what didn't have any chemicals that I know in it, but had a lot of polyphenols, things from berries and whatnot. And I woke up at 3 o'clock and I could not get back to bed. And of course, I don't know about you, but when I do that, and the dream I was dreaming was terrible. And so I couldn't get away from just desolation. And I found myself saying these words, be still and know that all is well. And it was helpful. It really was helpful. And we're going to do an exercise at the end for you to get to experience that. When I was talking to Bob about it, he compared the all is well to his computer. You want to share
You're
that?
just we're losing you. There.
I keep disappearing.
Yeah. I'm glad that doesn't happen in our relationship, Rita. Yeah, what I was thinking was, I want to go back. I was meditating last night,
Oh,
and when I was meditating last night, I was meditating on the idea of God. And immediately, what happens when I think about God is I always think about God first outside of me. I don't think of God inside of me. And I think part of that is my upbringing was that it would be blasphemous to say that God is in me
yeah.
or God or I'm any part of God. So, but what I was doing was automatically I started thinking, okay, God in the sky. And then I got really clearly, and I've had this happen many times before, was no, you need to go in, not out. You need to reach deeper, 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 deeper inside. And the deeper you go inside, the greater, the more you find the source of you, which I call God. The sourcing of me, my beingness is God, and it's in me. But and then it was really a very powerful experience because I realized that everything I need for all of the trillions of cells that are operating my body, that have created my body, are all connected to that. And that source self is animating all of that. And but the thing that Judith was talking about is on a bicycle. I love to ride, and I love to ride on my bicycle. And when I'm riding my bicycle, I don't realize that I'm the one powering it. And the reason I don't, you're scaring me, Judith.
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. I don't realize that I'm the one powering it. And you see, what I think happens very often is we don't realize our own power, that we are powering this thing called our life. That's
Your gestures are doing
yeah.
it. Golly. Can we bring this closer?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe we won't disappear
Yeah.
if we're closer.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. But the powering of the bicycle is me, and obviously the process goes through me, and the bicycle then moves. But what happens, of course, is you're the source of it, but you don't realize it. It doesn't look like it. And then, as Judith was mentioning the computer, I was thinking about the computer. The computer has everything it needs to operate, and it doesn't need you to be a complete computer. It is totally all of the programs and everything that are in it are aligned and correct and ready to operate. When it's not on it isn't not a computer. It's a computer fully equipped. You can operate it, but when you operate this thing called a computer, you're operating a system that is complete and unto itself and is connected to you. It was designed to be connected to you. So you could say that when you're operating the computer, you and the computer are one. You actually you're actually working through, and it's working through you. You're doing something with the computer, and the computer's doing something for you, and it's an interactive process. And and that may be a bit off the wall, I guess, of an idea, but I was looking for how are we connected to source, and when aren't we? We're not connected to source in the physical body when we're dead, but when we're alive, we're automatically connected. We can't not be connected. So when I say
It's like
connected,
you've just turned the computer on.
yeah, exactly. And when you're connected in a way that is permanent, that is ongoing, that is powerful, and we often don't realize that. When you wake up in the morning, you don't wake up parts of you, your entire beingness wakes up. And even if you're not aware of your total beingness is present and available for you to access. When I wake up in the morning and I go to my computer, I open up one or two programs. There are lots and lots of programs available that can be opened anytime I want to. And there's lots and lots of programs within us that can be opened whenever we want to, if we were to have the faith or the knowledge or the belief that there was something in us that could be opened. And so, and I shared this story with you, I think once before, but I think it's worth connecting to. because Judith and I are both had been mental health counselors, and one of the clients that would come to me on a regular basis would come to me late almost every time. And she would always apologize and say how bad she felt that she was late. And then one time she came early and I said, wow, what happened? She said, Jesus got me here on time. And I said, wow, so let me understand this. When you mess up or things don't work out, whose fault is it? She says, it's mine. And I said, and when you are successful and things work for you, whose fault is it? It's Jesus. I said, so you don't get credit for anything. And she thought about it. She said, that's true in my life too. I never give myself credit for anything. And she didn't realize until that moment how disempowering it is to believe that the power that operates you is outside of you and that you're not the decision maker for good, that this is somebody else's domain. And
Well, but she's been taught that by her religion,
yeah.
because too much of Christianity just teaches that you're born in sin. And so anything good about you is not your natural self, but is God operating through you, or Jesus. And so she was taught that, she was trained that, which is
but
so
we don't realize how oppressive that idea is. That and so when we say God in me, as me, part of me, working through me, I am now joined to the infinite.
Exactly. And what we teach in this science of mind is that we co-create with God our lives based on what we put in to the mind of God. Or actually, we call the creative part the soul of God. And we call it that. The analogy we like to use that people understand immediately is the seed, the soil, and the plant. In other words, when you want to plant something, you put a seed in soil that's good soil, and you water it, and you expect it to become a plant, and it does. And we believe this works the same way, but through the soul of God, meaning the creative part of God. So we would have an idea of something we would like, something different we would like in our life. And we may not even know how to bring it about. As a matter of fact, most times we don't. But we have faith that if we place that in the soul of God, the creative part of God, that it will create it. And we experience that.
So you're saying that the soil
is the soul.
Is the soul. And the seed doesn't know how it's going to grow or how it's going to be fed, but when it's planted in the soil, it automatically knows, it automatically does what it's supposed to do.
It does.
It's
It gets
designed to.
fed the right materials to come forth. And in our lives, that feeding happens through the law of attraction, of attracting just what we need for that. Our part is to keep expecting it, and to move our feet in that direction. When opportunities show up, we go, yes. When opportunities are affirmative, or it looks like this is developing, we give thanks and we expect it and we anticipate it. Wayne Dyer wrote a book called I'll See It When I Believe It. Because, the old saying, and we say this in our teaching all the time, the old saying is, doubting Thomas, I'll believe it when I see it. Not till it's in physical form will I believe it. But we actually believe the opposite. We believe that we will see it when we believe it. When we believe it, we expect it. We do everything to encourage it and to participate with. Sometimes it happens all in one form. Sometimes it happens progressively. But this is also being still and knowing that I am is with us. It's all part of the same thing. We have to expect it and know it. And it's not like we do nothing. Like if you state that you want a new job, you may or may not know what that job is, but you say a new job is what I am experiencing next. And it's not that you don't do anything, you do everything that you can, but you do it with the expectation that you will find a satisfactory job or a pleasant job or more prosperous job, whatever it is you're wanting.
If your own consciousness is not interfering with it. I talked to a man sometime years ago, and he was telling me, he said, I hate my job. And I said, well, why don't you work on creating a new job? So he said, okay, I'll work on that. I said, well, he said, how do I do that? I said, imagine, see it, say it, feel it, know it, own it. You've got a new job. And he thought he did it. He said, it feels so good to do that. And then the next day he went into his job and he was fired. And he said, oh my God, I can't believe this is terrible. You've taught me how to have an idea and bring it to fruition. And I just did it and I lost my job.
And you went, yay.
So my question to him was, would you actively look for the job that you want if you hadn't been fired? He said, no, actually, I was afraid to leave. I have been afraid to leave for the last 5 years. I said, so the next step in you're getting what you want is to have to lose what you don't want. But within a week and a half, he was interviewing for the job that he wanted. And I guess within a couple of weeks, he actually got the job that he was hoping for. And he came back and he said to me, I can't believe how long I lived in fear of not enough, when all I needed to do was to let go of not enough so that I could have enough. I could have what I wanted. I could have what I needed. And how many of us do that in our lives? How many of us hold on to things, not because they work for us, but because we're afraid of not having enough. We're afraid of not being enough. And that is what often interferes with our highest and best good. And fear is such a powerful catalyst for change that and it often doesn't change us in favor of ourselves. It changes us in favor of fear.
Right. Now, I mentioned that I mentioned the seed, the soil, and the plant, and the fact that we call that creative mind of God soul with a capital S, because one of our practitioners, Dr. Pamela Gray, has a newsletter that she sends out. And in that newsletter, she talks about it is soul that we are using. And she has a quote by Dr. Raymond Charles Barker, who's no longer with us, but was amazing powerhouse in New York City. And let me see if I have the quote. He said, when we search for soul, we are human. When we use soul, we become divine. So when we use soul, we are using it by stating what it is we desire, placing that seed idea in there. And then we become divine because the divine starts operating in our lives.
And where would people find this newsletter?
Well, we will be, I'm not sure exactly how we do it. I posted the last one on our website.
Oh, good.
And this one will too, no doubt, go on the website. I'll talk to Dr. Pamela about how we share it, but it will be shared with everybody. And so I'm not, I don't want to steal her thunder by using it in this talk, but I actually wanted to do it to introduce it. So because I tend not to use that word too much, because most people have such a different concept of the word soul.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's your personal soul. So just not to confuse people, I don't use it too much in talks like this. We do talk about it in our classes and whatnot, and I believe it and I use it. And so but it's very, very empowering. And it's empowering to think, wow, that when we search for soul, we're human, but when we use soul, we become divine. So because we become divine in that we become the creator, as God is the creator. So it's an interesting prospect.
The story we've heard a long time ago, and I think many of you probably heard it, but it's worth repeating. The way I understand it is it was a university decided to do a kind of test. And what they decided to do is to find out what some of the outer reaches of consciousness might look like, were they to give people an opportunity to reveal that greater consciousness. What they did was they rented a room, or they had a room. They all dressed up in robes or outfits that made them look like they were a spiritual community. And then they invited a UPS driver to deliver something. So the UPS driver came, as was expected, on time, and came into the room. And all of them said, "Oh, you're the one. We've been waiting for you. This is incredible." He said, "I'm a UPS driver. I've got a GED. What do you want?" And they said, "No, sit in this chair. We have questions for you." So he went up and he sat in the chair and he thought, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm a UPS driver. I've got a GED and they're asking me." And he had answers. And the more the questions were asked, the deeper and the richer the questions or the answers. And he sat there as much in awe as were the people who had created the experiment, how much more he knew than he ever had given himself permission to know or had considered knowing. How many of us are living in the less idea of ourselves rather than the greater idea, in the smaller idea of ourselves rather than the bigger idea? What if you declared, "I am a creative being. I am a boundless, endless, unlimited creator of my own good. Now what I want to do." Instead, we often say, "I hope I can get some help to overcome this problem. I hope the problem doesn't overwhelm me. I hope everything's going to, I just don't know. I'm afraid." And in my experience, most of us are living our lives more out of fear than out of faith, sadly. And we don't know it. The first thing is to
Well, we
become
think
conscious.
that's normal.
Yeah, the first thing is to become conscious of it so we can begin to have an effect on that.
Indeed. I have a quote I want to share from some important people. Um, this one is from Albert Einstein.
I've heard of him.
And you would think he would have said this, but he says, "A person experiences life as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. Our task must be to free ourselves from this self-imposed prison, and through compassion to find the reality of oneness."
Wow.
Oneness. We always think of Einstein as so exceptional that he's sort of set apart from regular people. And yet he believed in this idea of that we're all one.
And I love that in college he wasn't very good at math. Yeah.
In college, he wasn't good
He
at math.
wasn't good at math.
He
Yeah.
wasn't good in elementary school.
No,
They thought he would never
yeah.
get through it. But that's true of many brilliant people who think differently. As a matter of fact, I just came upon a story about a mother who got a note from the school. Son was in second grade, and she got a note, and the note said,
Oh, I love this.
"Your son is mentally retarded, and he cannot come back to school again." That was the extent of the note. And so her son says, "What does it say?" And she said, "Your son is a genius. We do not have sufficiently brilliant teachers to teach him in this school, so please homeschool him." And she did. She homeschooled him. He became a brilliant inventor. And when his mother passed, he was going through her jewelry box and he found that note. And when he read it, and he said, "Your son is mentally retarded. He cannot come back to our school." He would just, of course, burst in tears at his mother's brilliance, because that person was, tell me his name, the inventor that invented electricity.
Oh, Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was Thomas Edison. So often brilliant.
He had trouble with light bulbs. He couldn't get one to go on. I mean, yeah, he was not so smart,
But isn't that something? And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
it's happened again and again. When Fred Astaire auditioned, it was can't dance, can sing a little, can't dance. Really? Yeah. How many movies did he do? Yeah. Yeah. So, but what it comes down to is what's in our consciousness, not what do other people tell us we can or can't do. What is it that you believe that you're capable of, and if you believe that you're capable of it, doesn't that have an impact on every decision that you make?
And sometimes you don't even believe you're capable of it, but you
Yeah.
believe that God can do it through you, and that's okay. That really is what's happening.
In 1973 or 1974, I think it was, I think I've shared this before. I was an artist at that point, and I was deciding that I wanted to show my work in a gallery. So I went to the best gallery on Park Avenue in Rochester, where I'm from, and I showed my portfolio to the director, and he looked at it without saying hardly anything. And then he said, "Are you famous?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, come back when you are." I said, "Well, how do I do that?" He said, "Well, I guess that's your problem to solve, isn't it?" Closed the portfolio and walked away. I was devastated. I walked out, and for 2 weeks I was devastated because I'm not an artist anymore. I'm a failure. Why even bother? And then I went to a print store and I had cards printed, Robert Lucken, famous artist. And I needed to see that. I needed to see it in print. And I went to the gallery across the street. I gave him the card. He said, "Really?" And I said, "It could happen." He said, "Yes, it could. I'll give you a show." And a year later, I bought the gallery across the street and fired the director.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. So it's time now for us to close. And so I would like to do it with
Yeah.
a process instead of a prayer. And I wish I could play music for you, but I can't. You'll hum. So let's just close your eyes. Just close your eyes, and we're going to state that statement sequentially, dropping one word from the end each time. So we start with the statement, and you say it out loud where you are. Be still and know that I am God. And feel the whole essence of what that statement means to you with each version. So our next statement is be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still. Be. And so if you are like me, that will calm you down to your essence. Anytime you use it, anytime you need it. And I hope you do use it.
So we're going to go to share screen here now. And why don't you tell us what that means?
Yes, this is our website. And if you go to that website and click on a button that says ways to donate, you can give your donation today. I know many of you have it set up to do this automatically, regularly, and I think that's the best way to do it, and I appreciate it. I'm going to initiate a system soon. It's called Breeze, that you can just go to your phone and and very easily send money right from your phone, because you'll have that set up
As
But
often as
say
you
with-
want.
Yeah, as often as you want, as often as you think about it. So but today let's read this affirmation, and it says, my investment today is made with the full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied. And so it is. That's also so important to remember and recognize that wherever the money comes from, God is the source of our supply.